Amazing. So, good evening, everyone. Obviously, thank you for joining us tonight. Just watching our audience grow each week makes me really proud, and I'm so grateful that we can bring you such incredible and accomplished speakers. Obviously, this week is no different. Tonight, you'll be hearing from Daniel Nathan and Evan Mervis. As you can imagine, both Daniel and Evan have an incredible wealth of insight and experience to share with us. I will be asking both Daniel and Evan questions, but please feel free to pose any questions which you may have in the Q&A box on top of your screen, and I'll do my best to get to them all. So without further ado, I'll hand over to them to hear more around what they do and how they got to where they are. Once again, thank you all for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. And over to you, Dan. Let's kick it off.
Good evening, everyone. I've been in the diamond business for 25 years in South Africa. I've been involved in buying rough diamonds, polishing rough diamonds, selling polished. I was selling to all the jewelers in South Africa, Evan being one of them. I've also had experience in polishing. I have a factory. I've been all over the world thanks to the diamond business. I've been to a couple of African countries and experienced a lot about what the diamond business is about. I deal in it every day, and I guess it's a business that I love, and I always have.
Amazing. I think just before we jump to Evan, I think Dan, just an imminent question that pops to my mind. How did you get into the diamond trade? Why diamonds? I mean, obviously Africa is a rich mineral country, but how did that all come about?
I guess it was I sort of finished school, and I wanted to go and travel for a year after school, and I didn't really know sort of what career I was going to get into. And I guess an opportunity came with a guy in the diamond business. He had a really big business, and as most people know, most family diamond businesses would only really hire family. And it just so happened that I guess he gave me an opportunity, and he said, come and try it out for a couple of months and see if you like it. And I suppose it's been 25 years since then. I mean, he taught me a hell of a lot, and it was really a good start and a good way to learn. Like I said, it was a very big family business, and I guess there wasn't a future for me in that business. And as long as I was there and learning and doing what I was supposed to do, the day came where it was sort of, I went and did my own thing.
Amazing. I think, Evan, maybe if you want to jump in and just share kind of similar insights and where you are today and how you got there.
Yeah, sure. I've been in a family business, Mervis Brothers, for nearly close on 30 years, similar to Dan, similar type of industry, dealing with diamonds, but more to the retail public. One of our main features has also been our watches. We do Rolex, which has always been one of the favorites, if not one of the best in the world, amongst a few others. And it's just been, for me, it's been, it even started as a child, I guess. It's really a family business running over 100 years. Amazing. And there was even a time where I was actually in the United States doing a similar business in the US. We have another business, and the US is kind of interesting, and seeing how the Americans buy diamonds, a little bit different. So I've got a little bit of overseas selling as well.
When you say a bit different, is that just what people prefer, or just the process of buying diamonds and what the use of the diamond is in terms of the American industry?
Well, Americans adorn diamonds. Everybody there enjoys shopping for diamonds, wearing them, not only for investment purposes, just for everyday purposes. Diamonds don't always have to have an investment purpose. Just very fortunate that they have a good value, and they do hold their value, as well as gold. We can talk about gold a little later. Gold's also got great value.
I think we'll jump into that a bit later on in the discussion. But then, whilst we're on the topic of diamonds, and Danny, maybe you can share, someone may be looking to get into the diamond trade. Do they need a degree, a qualification? What type of skill set do you need? You need to know the right people. And then again, when purchasing a diamond for personal use, you know, what do you look for? Is it size, shape, grade? You know, can you just maybe share some insight into that?
Yeah, I think someone trying to get into the diamond industry, I think it's a very complicated thing today. I think it's quite a small, it's a very small industry in South Africa. You know, in whatever 20 years ago, when there was a lot more businesses in South Africa, I think there was more opportunity for people to learn the business. But I don't believe there's too much room for someone to really learn the diamond business in this country. You certainly have to have a very big checkbook, because I mean, to be honest, the diamond industry, your education is really, you know, how much you make or lose. So sure. I think it's a very difficult industry to get into, and I think going back to the part where family businesses were the ones that sort of taught people the industry, because they used to bring their family into the business, obviously because of the trust factor. But I think getting into the diamond industry, I don't know, I'm not sure I would recommend it. I think it's a bit complicated right now. The question of what people should buy, is that what you're asking, and how what they should
look for?
I mean obviously, you know, the internet's quite helpful these days. I mean, if you Google, you know, what to look for in a diamond, or how to buy a diamond, or, you know, what makes up the value of a diamond,
you're just going to find the biggest one.
You'll find a bit of information, and that unfortunately is the only bit of information that someone has when they're buying a diamond, which is, you know, they call it the 4 C's. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the 4 C's. So, I mean, you've got the cut, you've got the clarity, you've got the color, and you've got what's the last thing? The
weight.
The carat, correct. So, see, I mean, people know about these things. So in actual fact, what you really should be doing is you should be really going to someone that can give you the advice about what you should be buying. So, I mean, if I put 3 of the exact same size diamonds in front of someone, the same cut in front of someone, they're not going to know the difference between them. There may be one worth $25,000 and there might be one worth $3,000, but they're all basically going to look the same. So in actual fact, what you should be doing is you should be going to someone and getting some advice about what to buy. I mean, with all due respect, it's not a piece of furniture, and it's not so simple that you just sort of make that rash kind of decision. You need someone almost to say, you have X amount of money, and that's the stone you're buying, and you're buying it because it has this flaw or this sort of characteristic. But you do need someone to sort of guide you. It is that kind of business. It's not necessarily you buying a Krugerrand that has a broadcasted value. You look in the newspaper in the morning, you can see exactly what a Krugerrand's worth, or you can follow the price of gold. It's quite an easy calculation. But buying a diamond, you really need someone that can show you why you should buy something and why you shouldn't buy something else. You do need a bit of guidance. You don't really have to spend as much as you think you have to spend. You need someone to say to you, for that amount of money, you'll be able to buy that stone, and for the change, you can pay for the engagement party. You know, so you do need some sort of advice. I do believe that the essence of the diamond business is to bring joy to people. That's what it's all about. I mean, let's be honest, you're buying a diamond for a happy occasion. That's what a diamond's for. Whether it be an engagement ring or an anniversary present or some sort of occasion, you're normally buying diamonds and jewelry for a happy occasion.
As I say, like a diamond's a girl's best friend. I mean,
that's for sure.
That's for sure. I'm saying when guys come in and buy when the guys come in and buy the engagement, I'm saying I haven't come to that stage in my life yet. But do they know what they want? Do they walk in and say, or is there still room for error?
Well, I guess in certain occasions, they've been tipped off already about what she's sort of into, and she's obviously gone onto Instagram or something and said, listen, what do you think of this cut? Or what do you think of this shape? Or, is this too big? Is this too small? So they do.
What's your return policy? Maybe that's probably the right question.
I must be honest, nothing's ever been returned. I've had 100% strike rate. They're always happy. I mean, amazing. Think about it. Someone's giving you an engagement ring. It depends on how long they've been waiting for that engagement ring as well. But it's not often they're going to say, well, it's a bit small, or it's, you know what I mean? It doesn't happen. So the truth of the matter is, it's always very well received, and it's always for a great occasion, and the person's, it's quite nerve-wracking. Some people arrive with their parents, with their grandparents, with a brother, with a sister, with someone that sort of can back them on their decision. And yes, it obviously all eventually comes back to money. How much money can someone spend? And if you can give them the correct advice about what's the right amount to spend, and give them that sort of security, because people do not know much about the diamond business. They hear what they've seen on the internet, or seen what they see on Instagram, and it's quite complicated to understand all the imperfections and all the prices, and how one thing is exponentially more than another thing, and it's quite difficult to explain. But people need guidance. They need to understand what they're buying.
Of course. Amazing. Thanks, Dan. Thank you for that insight. Very, very helpful. Evan, over to you. I think, let's touch on the watch industry and the watch business. Maybe you can just share some insight into, what makes a great watch, or what makes a watch more expensive than the other. Is it the movement, the history, is it James Bond? And then again, I know you mentioned, let's touch on maybe the smartwatch environment, and has it really been a disruptor to your more dress watch type brands? And how do you see that, rolling out into the future? Now people will be more conscious about their fitness. Garmin watch now apparently can tell whether you've got COVID, or whether your H2O, your CO2 levels is high or not. How do you see this all planning out?
Well, just to start, in the categories of watches, you would get your super luxury, which would be like your super top end, which is pretty much unaffordable to most people. Richard Mille and all these top end, over the top 2 million rand plus watches. You get your luxury watches, which would constitute the likes of your Patek Philippe's, your Rolex, your AP, Audemars Piguet. These are all high-end watches, great watches generally, and have stood the test of time, pretty much holding their value, if not gaining more value than they were ever sold for. So the categories of watches change a little bit. You've then got your premium watch brands like Tag Heuer, Michel Herbelin, Raymond Weil, Rado, and plenty others. After that, you then get your fashion brands. A lot of the fashion brands, you got Caterpillar, you get, any brand name Guess that you can think of, Fossil. Those are all actually beautiful. All the watches are good. They all work these days, and they're all great. So there's a price range for everybody, and you can pretty much get whatever you want. People still like the old classic style watches. You still get watches like Casio, who do retro watches from the 80s, the calculator watches. People love those watches. So people are having fun with the brands more than ever before. Maybe not spending in the premium range as much as they used to, but we are seeing quite a large amount of sales in the fashion, the regular brands, and the luxury and the super luxury. So unfortunately, at the moment, the premium brands have taken a bit of a knock. Things aren't exactly going easy at the moment on anybody, but people are still enjoying and buying what they need. You were saying, you were asking about the smartwatch, which is at the moment, everybody is actually wanting something for their fitness, for everyday tracking, etc. I don't want to start running up or down any of the smartwatches, but the only one that I would actually recommend at the moment is the Garmin. The Garmin pretty much covers every single category you can think of. And if you're into serious sports and you want something with a long battery life and that can do absolutely what any of the others can do, because they can all pretty much do the same. So when it comes to smartwatch, choose the one that you like. Research is not always good, because you'll find that there are a lot of smartwatches out there that are great looking, but maybe don't carry all your needs. So I recommend the Garmin, and just there's so many beautiful ones, tracking your lifestyle, messages, you name it, all in one little unit. And I just want to add one thing, that a lot of people who used to go for their luxury or super luxury watches at the moment are going for what I would call a premium smartwatch. So Garmin have even brought out something like the Garmin Mark, which is titanium and sapphire crystal glass, and has even better features than ever before.
Amazing. She's massive advance. I see there's a question coming from our audience. Has cell phones with built-in clocks hurt the watch business? So when asking what is the time, do people pull out their phones, or do they look at their watch?
So watches as a time instrument is being used and sometimes is not being used. A lot of the young generation don't really care much in the beginning for watches. It wasn't as in the early days, every young kid wanted a watch because there was no cell phone, no technology. Watches are kind of like an old form of technology, a calculator, a computer of the past, if you want to put it that way. So when cell phones came around, yes, a lot of the young generation aren't looking for it. But very soon afterwards, we found that as they grew over a certain age, being into young adolescent, they wanted to follow what their parents have done, what people in the past have done, and actually going back to enjoying good enjoyment, good old-fashioned items. But I would say that it did hurt the industry a touch at some point, but the smartwatches and just absolutely smashed the number of sales in watches that had ever been seen before.
It's a serious disruptor, I guess, to the industry, and it's amazing what some of the stuff can do and the features. But there's nothing like a good dress watch, I guess.
Yeah.
Evan, while we're with you, I know you mentioned, you're an investor or you're back of gold. I think maybe let's jump onto that theme, and then we can kind of dive into all three and get some questions around all three, and which is the better investment. What do we think? The gold price has rocketed over $2,000 per an ounce. Do you think it's still a worthwhile investment? What's your view on that?
A couple of years ago, I was when I left the United States, was in 2008. I took a decision at that point that gold was undervalued and had a lot more room to move. Also taking into account that the Rand probably wasn't going to hold strong for long enough. I did a lot of investing into gold, mainly the actual metal itself, but I also did ETF trades where which is nice for short term, getting in and out. But unfortunately, gold is a tricky one, and it takes a long time, and it's volatile. It depends on what's going on in the world, if there's any movement in political turmoil. And at the moment, with gold going through the roof, it probably does tell us there is something quite, problematic out there in the marketplace. But in Rand terms, if you had always multiplied the rate of exchange by the actual gold price, you'd always have found that the cross rate was on an increase, always doing the up. So in Rand terms, gold has been the most unbelievable hedge against currency in a local form.
And Dan, do you have anything to maybe add to that? What's your view on the gold industry? And if you're a first-time investor, would you rather buy the physical gold, invest in the ETF type instrument?
I think gold's pretty high right now. I'm not sure it's the right time to buy gold right now. I think it's, it's ridiculous. I mean, to think that a Kruger Rand's 36,000 Rand a Kruger Rand, I think it's, I'm not sure it's the right time now to buy gold. I think it's a bit high. I think, obviously, people are looking to put their money in a sort of safe place right now, especially what's going on in the world. I guess, Evan's got more experience than me. I mean, they use and sell a lot of gold, but I'm not sure right now if gold's the right investment right now.
I'm going to add something as a basic prediction, because I thought gold, when it got to about 38, 39, 40,000 per coin per ounce, I thought that would be ridiculous. But we're kind of seeing it happen in an unnatural situation with world pandemic and turmoil. So I kind of think it's got a little bit more room to move, but I wouldn't want anybody to overinvest in a metal like gold. I don't think it's something you should overinvest in at all. Nice to play with it a little bit, and it has helped a lot of people over the years. I think it still can run, probably go a little bit more, but yeah, I think it's really high at the moment.
Amazing. Dan, do you see this type of volatility in the diamond market? I'm saying gold, you have some days it jumps 10-20% in volume and price, the next day it's down 20%. Is there...
I think the most volatile thing about the diamond business at the moment is the exchange rate. The price of diamonds, certain things have sort of dropped in the last, I don't know if you want to use 10 years or 5 years as a basis, but there's certain things that have maintained their value. There's certain things that haven't. Like, to give an example, a DIF in a 1 carat, 20 odd years ago was $26,000 a carat. It's now, I think, about 17 or 18. So it almost seems like the items, the stones that are of really high value are the stones that are battling because people can't afford them. So the more commercial, middle of the range diamonds, the diamonds that are sort of HI color, D being the best. Obviously, we haven't had this discussion, but
Dan, can you maybe touch on that a brief?
Okay, so
DIF, I wasn't too sure.
Correct. So I mean, we had the discussion about the 4 C's. I mean, the top white color diamond is a D color. That's what we'd call colorless. A lot of people will call it blue white. That's your highest white colored diamond. Obviously, going down the alphabet, you start to get more of a tint of yellow in the diamond. So when you get to sort of DEF color, you're still in that colorless sort of category. Once you get to sort of GHI, still quite white, but obviously more of a tint of yellow. And when you get to sort of JKL, you'll see there'll be a more of a visible, like sort of by the naked eye, you'll be able to see that yellow in the stone. Purities, flawless is flawless. I mean, the purities are quite self-explanatory. You have from flawless, you'll have VVS1, which is a very, very small inclusion, which is very difficult to see with even 100 times magnification. You'll then get sort of VS1, which is a very small inclusion, which is quite, you'll be able to see it with a 10 times magnification. And sort of going down to SR1, SR2, which is a slight imperfection, but obviously a lot easier to see. Sometimes you can see those imperfections with the naked eye. And getting to like the really included stones, which are like, we call them P1, P2, which are, they got problems and things you'll be able to see. So when you talk about sort of a commercial sort of value, you're looking at a stone sort of in the GHI, in the VS2, VS1, VS2, SR1, and those are the stones that start to become more affordable. But at the same time, you do get stones with those imperfections that the imperfections are so perfect. I don't know if you want to say that. It's almost like, it's like human beings. We all have our imperfections. Some of them are sort of worse than others, but you'll get a diamond where the imperfection is just so perfect that it warrants a premium, because it's got a problem and it's really good value, but you can't see any of that. It's good value for money, as opposed to a stone that's absolutely perfect. It's a perfect color, perfect clarity, but it's expensive. and you'll have a stone that's perfectly clear, perfect color and clarity, that will look exactly the same as that stone that is still sort of white and has an imperfection, but it looks clean. It's eye clean. So, you know, that's what people have got to understand. You know, the very expensive diamonds are probably the greatest discounted right now because there's no real market for them. But the stones that have got the imperfections but look perfect and look clean are the stones that people aren't so quick to give them away, you know, because they are affordable, and they're the most popular because they are affordable.
Right. And Evan, sorry, just to touch on this or jump on this, is you seen the same type of movement in value in the watch market, the ultra premium, the ultra expensive watches losing value, and then kind of the more affordable premium watches still maintaining value and obviously ticking up in value? Is it a similar trend that you've seen in the watch industry?
In the watch industry, majority of the luxury brands have held very strong. So the price didn't fluctuate at all and remained quite steady there. Of the other brands, you know, they put their prices up because of the rate of exchange. So they took an increase in price, and sales did take a knock, and they will, because people don't like price movement. But unfortunately, it had to happen. So
makes sense. And then I know we didn't get on it, and there was a brief question I was saying, when you look into purchase a watch, on face value, you know, the watch looks pretty standard when you compare Rolex with whatever the case may be, and the face value, you know, ticks, tells the time. Why do some watches attract such a premium, and what is the craze behind it? Like, people are just obsessed with it, but underneath, I mean, what is it? Maybe you can just share some light on that.
The watches gain certain watches always gain a certain premium because they either have a handmade aspect to them where they handcrafted, or they manufactured so well that they are just something that is kept through generations forever. And whether it's the movement or the casing or the comfortability, these high-end brands are they're strong, and their movements are they have a heritage to them, and people understand the heritage of a luxury brand. So it has a special place in people's hearts. They want to own one.
And in the local watch manufacturing industry, local watch, is there any up and coming? I'm saying, if people try to disrupt that, is there anything of that nature in Africa?
Not really local. Not that I'm aware of. The Swiss industry, the Japanese industry, pretty much have taken over that sector.
And is it cheaper to obviously buy the watches offshore in Switzerland, or they all attract a standardized price, I assume?
A lot of people think that Switzerland's cheaper, so often a little bit more, just a touch more. People like to buy their watches when they're in Switzerland, so they'll pick it up there. South Africa, on the luxury brands, a brand like Rolex would be very price conscious, not to overprice in a market like this, and so they really try and hold back for a lot of people so that they can still afford the watch.
Makes sense, sure. I think, Dan, back to you. I know I was watching a Netflix documentary, and it was all around, you know, the artificial production of diamonds, and where's the world heading to? And I think I'm not exactly too sure it was, but I was saying, do you think that's going to be, or that is going to impact the diamond industry, the diamond trade? And do you ever see it come into fruition where it's actually mass produced? Can diamonds be mass produced eventually?
It definitely has caused a little bit of drama in the diamond business. I mean, it's created a market that is much cheaper than a natural diamond, but I do believe that there's definitely a market for people that want to buy the real thing. The synthetic market is I guess I think both businesses will eventually have their markets, but I do believe that I think it's a lot more expensive to manufacture a diamond than to mine it. And at the moment, they can only manufacture a diamond so big. I'm not really up to date. I'm not really up to date with it because I only sell the real thing. So I'm not following it that closely. But I definitely think there's going to be a market for both of them. That's my opinion.
I'm not too familiar with if there's anything of this nature in the gold sector or any other minerals. Evan or Dan, can you maybe share some insight of that? Do you think something like this is imminent in the gold sector as well, in the gold market?
Well, just to touch on that topic, the diamonds that are being man-made definitely do have a place. I know in America they're doing very well, and not everybody wants to. They are a little bit cheaper, but it is complicated because their manufacturing process is actually more sort of destructive. They say it's got a little bit of a higher carbon footprint. So there's a bit of a trade-off there to if you want to go for a little bit of price or you want to go for more natural. In the gold business, they've never managed to replicate gold. It's just impossible at the moment, I guess. Probably forever. So
I also think it would be. I'm not sure what the resale value would be for a synthetic diamond. I mean, there's certainly some sort of resale value for the real thing. But I mean, for you to go and resell a synthetic stone, I'm not sure that's going to be that simple.
No, it's not.
Makes sense. And then I know we touched on this, but Bitcoin, spanning the works. Either you invested in it, have you ever dealt in it? Is that the future? Is that the next diamonds? Are those the next diamonds? Is that the next gold? Any views, any insights into that? One of you, Dan, and then we go to Evan, or Evan and Dan.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. If it's not gold, I'm not looking at it. But Bitcoin's very interesting because it's done its ups and downs. Some people have gone for it, some haven't. I think my industry is not very competent in Bitcoin. We like more of a tangible asset. I hope Bitcoin does work out and that it doesn't become some sort of failed scheme or problematic issue. But even Bitcoin at the moment so high, I don't know when would be the right price time to get into Bitcoin. I like to stay away from it personally.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I don't think a lot of people really understand. I mean, people are buying it, and it's almost just sort of hype. I mean, I don't understand it either. I did sort of dabble in it, kind of. I mean, it wasn't anything major, but I agree. I would much rather buy something that I understand. I mean, I know that I can buy a diamond, I can polish it, I can sell it, and I have an educated guess about what the result's going to be. I'm not sure about Bitcoin. I mean, I understand that the logo is gold and it looks like a gold coin, but I don't really understand it.
It's the American Kruger Rand.
Correct.
Right.
And let me ask, I mean, the secondary market I know there's a big reseller market for high-end and premium watches. Where do people go about it? So if people want to dispose of their Rolex or their diamonds, is there a big second-hand market for watches, diamonds and gold? And how does one go about trading in that market?
With the watch industry, the luxury watch market has always managed to have a second-hand, more of a different channel, where there are a few guys out there who have specialized in it, and they actually have done a great job in servicing the second-hand industry, where somebody's finished with their watch, they want to move on, or they need some extra cash, or whatever their situation is. So they can go to a few of these guys, and they are most of them, what we know about them, they're trustworthy. I found they do a great service. From the diamonds aspect, maybe Dan could help out a little bit there. Often people come and ask me where to buy their, where diamonds, and they want to know about pawn shops and should they sell to a pawn shop or not. It's tricky out there. I'm more on the retail side, so I don't delve in that.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of had this discussion earlier. Evan and I and other sort of retailers are sort of in control of what they sell to their clients. So, we might say to a guy, listen, you've bought the stone for whatever, 60, 70,000. It's very market related, and the price is correct, and so on and so forth. But we're not really in control of where they go and sell that item. So, as you know, sort of all luxury high-end items, paintings, sculptures, watches, everything that's got sort of a really good value has a really good value when you don't need to sell it. The minute you need to go sell it, it depends who you're going to sell it to. I'm not in control of that. Someone will say, well, I've bought this diamond from you, and I'm going to go sell it. What am I going to get? And, I don't know who you're going to. So, you'll get to a guy, I've sold it to you for 70. He says, listen, it's only worth 40. You're going to come back to me and say that I overcharged you. So it's not something we're really in control of. But yes, if you buy the correct diamond at the correct price and it's made correctly, the magic of a diamond is in how it's been made. If a diamond's been made correctly, you're never going to have a problem selling it. And it should certainly have a resale value, but I guess you'd have to go and sell it to the person you bought it from, because they'd need to stand by their product at the end of the day. But the exchange rate obviously makes an enormous difference to what people have paid for their diamonds and what they can now sell them for. I'm not sure where it's going from here. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go back to whatever, or it's going to go further closer to 20. I don't know, but it's quite important that the person that goes to sell it, who they go sell it to. A pawnbroker, I mean, that's a difficult thing. You don't really know why people are selling things, and I'm not really that kind of person. I think a lot of the sort of secondhand reselling diamonds come with sometimes a bit of a sad story, and it's not something that I really want to deal with all the time. But we're not really in control of what they do with that stone.
I've got a question from the audience, and it's probably pretty topical. It's just basically, when people's jewelry gets stolen, who would buy it from the burglar? And maybe leading on to the next, and saying, do you ever see, I'm saying applies to both of you in your respective industries, do you see the correlation between obviously the spike in crime rate and the decline in purchases, or have you seen like a bit of a drop in the purchase of recent just due to spike in the crime rate, and how do you combat that? It's just a sad reality that we live in South Africa.
So unfortunately, the syndicates in this country, I think we've all seen, are a little bit stronger than they really go deep in this country. So a lot of the time, whether it's watches or jewelry or even cars, they can get shipped out of the country, and it's gone. So unfortunately, and sometimes they do get resold to the pawn shops. I know that they're ready to take on and purchase any of that as well. So it does get a little bit local, a little bit overseas. So it's hard to track that. The crime in this country, I think it's caused people to wear less. I really have. I think it's a fear factor. And I like to tell people to wear their jewelry and wear their watches, but also be careful and know where to wear it and where not to flash it. And a lot of us in our homes at the moment, maybe you can enjoy more of your jewelry at the moment. Wear it. Why not? 1 or 2 pieces. You have to take them all out. But I would wear some of our pieces in this day and age. Make yourself feel better, and you already own it, so use it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The truth is, I mean, I don't know about Evan, but we haven't in the high end sort of jewelry business. We haven't done much business in the last 4 months. But yeah, the truth is, people are going to get married. People are going to have anniversaries. They are going to have children. They are going to have all these happy occasions, and they will continue to buy jewelry. they may buy what they can afford, but it's all those happy occasions are going to continue. People are going to continue to buy things. They may not wear them as sort of freely as they used to. And, you know, with social distancing now, people, you know, don't get a chance to show off their sort of all their jewels. So, you know, I definitely think it's something that people will continue to buy. I don't think that's going to stop.
No, it makes it. And then there's another question. It's came from one of the guests saying, IWC, Cartier, Patek Philippe, which is the one you would buy? And just on that, I know with certain watches, they've got serial numbers, you know, so that they can be tracked down. Is that same methodology applicable to diamonds? Can you track a diamond? Can you see the lineage of a diamond, ownership of a diamond, or not really? Maybe twofold.
So
jump there,
there is a laboratory that we use. It's very well recognized worldwide. It's called the GIA. Certain people will certify their diamonds with an inscription. That inscription is very, very small. It's on the girdle of the stone, which separates sort of the top from the bottom. It's very, very tiny. But if you sort of know what to look for, you would be able to see that inscription. So a lot of people won't inscribe a diamond, you know, up to a certain value. They won't, because it doesn't warrant them doing it. But you might get a diamond that's been stolen or been offered to someone that has that inscription on. But I mean, if you have a sort of clever syndicate, they would find a way to remove that inscription off the diamond, which is not difficult either. It's just got to be basically polished off if they know what they're doing. So no, there's no way to really track it
as well. There's probably a serial number that can just get polished off.
Well, the serial numbers, it's funny. I think I'm not quite sure what happens to all these watches that get stolen and with all these serial numbers. I've got a theory that they probably go to people and they're told that you shouldn't really ever service them again, and when you're finished with them, maybe just dispose of them, because, you know, some do come up into the marketplace, but a lot of them do disappear. So I don't know where they go and what people do with them, or they know that they're hot watches, or it was so they don't put them back in the market.
Sure, scary thought. And onto the topic of more positive news, I guess. The Cartier, IWC, Patek.
Correct.
Which one would you buy? Would you recommend?
Or Rolex. Oh, okay. I didn't hear the Rolex one. So
I threw that in there.
Okay. Patek Philippe, in my opinion, is truly one of the greatest watches ever built, from every aspect, handmade. It's something really special to own for forever and a day. To ask which is the right one is, I think, it's the wrong question, because I've had people debate with me that price is the right way to work out a watch. If it's 2 million, then it must be worth something. And some people say yes, but if it's got heritage and it's passed down from generation, then it's got some sort of other classic value to it. Some like the robustness of a Rolex and its durability, and it's still got its heritage to it. So each watch maybe has a little bit of its own style or classic. Cartier's got a great, it's been one of the greatest watches as well over time. So what would one choose if one really wanted to choose a watch? And I just got to say that I really think when you've seen the watch you like, it's probably the right one. You can't really go wrong with the high-end pieces. I would say out of the 4 watches you told me about, and I hate to say it, I love the IWC, one of my favorites actually. But the Patek Philippe and the Rolex, I would choose between one of those. Not everybody can go with Patek because of its price. So Rolex is a good option.
I just see now another question. Which has more value to you, the Rolex or the Garmin? Evan, what do you wear? Do you wear a Rolex or a Garmin? And be honest.
Well, I can say I've got 2 wrists, so it's not fair.
Dan's got a Garmin on.
So Dan's got a Garmin on. Lately, I actually just decided to put on this watch, which is the Garmin Golfer, and it's something really exceptional. So I've just been wearing this for the last week or 2, and it's kind of annoying me that it's actually that I'm not missing my Rolex as much as I thought I would. but I don't want to say more about that because I think my Rolex will come back pretty soon. But the features on this watch, and you guys can research about the golfer. It's got an amazing concept now where you get little extra, little plastic tubes that you fit onto the top of a club, and it can actually track your game and become a golf caddy and advise you which clubs to use on your next swing. It takes about 2 or 3 games, and it learns you. AI, I hope we don't get too involved in that in our lifetime, but yeah, it's on the way.
Amazing, amazing. I've seen some of the Apple Watches have that, I think, fall detection mode, for riding, that if you do fall and it's an emergency SOS. I'm not too sure if the Garmin watches have it, but it's an important feature for the old age, for any youngster acting, exercising vigorously. It's phenomenal what they can do. But Dan, I don't see you wearing any diamonds in your ears. What's going on?
No, I'm not wearing my diamond earrings right now. It's quite late in the afternoon. I like to take them out eventually.
Makes sense. There's another question. Yeah, I think to you, Dan. It just says, I remember you mentioned the value in diamond, or the value that you can extract from diamonds, the way you cut it and the way you can make it and the way you can set it. Does a diamond actually lose value, and how much value does it lose once it's been set into a ring, or does it actually, can it create value?
It doesn't affect its value at all, actually. I mean, it's a lot of what we see with sort of older diamonds is, they've been polished a particular way 30, 40 years ago. In the old days, diamonds sort of were polished so that they've got a lot more spread and they look much bigger than they should be. So what we do see today is like, stones are polished differently today. We make them to particular specifications, and the truth is, if a diamond's made to the correct specification, it has the correct life and brilliance. So I wouldn't say that it loses its value once it's set in jewelry. It's probably got more value set in jewelry. That's like I said, all the value in it is to bring joy to people in jewelry. That's why we make and polish and sell diamonds, is because it does eventually land up that way. But I just think, some diamonds in the past haven't been made correctly, so it doesn't have the correct life, but it doesn't affect its value by being set in a piece of jewelry.
I mean, I think you're saying, sometimes we set in the past in a previous way. There's a question here that says, what should I do with my Bobbers diamonds that are old fashioned, but still have some magic somewhere in it?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to make a decision. I mean, it's obviously sentimental, and you may want to leave them as they are. Maybe you're not so thrilled about how it was your Bobber set that diamond in the ring and what it looks like, because that jewelry is also something quite magical. But I think if you I've had instances where people have brought their Bobber stone and it's not unbelievably made, and it's sort of a bit flat and a bit long and a bit sort of not exactly round, but you've set it in a ring and it looks beautiful again. So sometimes there's no reason to do anything to your Bobber's diamonds except maybe change the style of the ring.
Makes sense. I mean, we could go on. There's just questions coming through. But I think just before we end off, and maybe you guys can share some lights individually, just 2 minutes of inspiration, your views, where you think we're heading, just some positivity, and then we can end off 1 or 2 more questions, and then just do our thank yous, and we can close off the evening. So maybe Dan, we can start with you. Just some 2 minutes of inspiration, light, or anything you would like to share, and then Evan, we can go into you.
I definitely think that people should still enjoy the idea and perhaps the expense of buying diamonds. I don't think you have to spend too much. I don't think you have to be under pressure. I think the person that's buying them, as well as the person receiving them, get unbelievable joy out of it. And I just think people should be careful. I think you shouldn't overdo it. And I think you should still celebrate, obviously, all these happy occasions with diamonds. And it just basically brings it should bring joy into people's lives. That's what the purchase should do.
Amazing, agreed.
You know, all the thoughts of the past were to were investments and to buy and to achieve and to get something that was. I think with the way that the world has changed at the moment, I think we're more specific in what we want to use, want to wear, and want to enjoy. And I do feel that people should do it. If you don't have to spend a lot, but you should really get out there. And we've all seen that lockdown doesn't do anybody any good. I think that we can still enjoy without having to worry about the future too much. And I hope the future does pick up for us economically, and we can all start spending like there was no tomorrow. But I don't think people will. I think we'll always be a little bit more cautious going forward.
Amazing. I see here there's a question that's just come through saying, if I come shopping by you guys, will you accept my Bitcoin for payment?
Sure.
There you go.
No problem.
No problem. You just have to explain to me how it works, and then let's figure it out. Yeah.
I think we have a yes from both of you. Well, thanks, guys. Tonight was extremely informative. I mean, I've learned an absolute fortune. I've already got some messages on my phone to, just thank me for hosting this, and just, guys, I've really learned a lot, and it's been extremely informative. So thank you very much for your time. We really do appreciate it, and just always being and just being, willing to chat and give of your time and give of your thoughts and your opinions. So once again, thank you very much, and thank you to Rabbi Masinta for organizing, and everyone have a good evening, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Ciao.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.